Greetings, VC. Andy here again, and we've reached my top 10 in my countdown of favourite new release albums of 2025. So in this video, I'm going to cover numbers 10 down to 6 in a little bit more detail than before. Now we're in the top 10 and do samples, but I'm doubling up on one. So I've got a sort of an add-in of a late contender. I'm not going to position it with a number or double up in that sense, but I think this would be somewhere around here. And I'm talking about the band Geese and their album Getting Killed, which actually came out in September. I've heard it quite a lot on the radio. It's not a band I've really heard of before until they released this album. I think it's their fourth around there. They hail from New York. The singer, who's Cameron somebody, I think, I've forgotten his name. As usual on these, I always forget somebody's name. It's got quite an unusual voice. I can imagine it's not for everyone, but it really works for me. It's quite, for a rock band, and they are rock. He's got quite a sort of languid and laid back style, which I really like. I keep hearing there's 2 or 3 tracks which for the last, since they released this in September, have been sort of on playing over and over again on the radio, and I've not got fed up with it. So I decided to buy the album, and it only arrived about a week or two back, and so it's a great album, and I will cover it. As I say, it's rock. And it could be, if this had come earlier in the year and I'd position, I'd thought about it with all the other ones, it could have been my rock album of the year. I'm not saying it is because I haven't listened to it enough. So I will cover this when I do my December, the month of December roundup of new releases, which I'll do around the end of the month or beginning of January. So I'm not going to go into detail now. That'll be next time. But I just wanted to mention that one as a contender. So anyway, let's come into what I have decided is my number 10, and that is Faithless and their new album Champion Sound. So this is sort of there's been a lot of really good albums by which you might say are comebacks from bands which have been around a long time and haven't produced anything for a while. But this is the pick of them for me, and they've all been really good. I love Faithless. The Maxi Jazz, the singer, died a few years ago, and which is rather sad. But they've put together, the rest of the band, essentially Sister Bliss plus a few other people who have joined. A really good double album, and I talked about this in September, and this is what I said in my September roundup by Faithless, and it's called Champion Sound. And I wasn't really expecting this, a Faithless album without Maxi Jazz. That is really, really good, because Maxi is such a strong part of Faithless. You'd think, I wasn't sure. And my good friend Mark Perry, was into this first, and I thought, and was extolling it. So I thought, I love Faithless, and I've got to go and listen to it. And it is brilliant. It's a full double, and it somehow is a tribute to Maxi. But also a reinvention of Faithless without him. The first side is really all about Maxi, and the first track, Forever Free, features the last recording by Maxi before he died. I think he died in 2022, around then. And he's urging people to be completely you as you can. And it sort of that segs into In Your Own Groove, which is a trademark Faithless pumping house, and it's driven by Sister Bliss's synths. And it reprises Maxi saying, repeating the word "forever free" through it, and that's a sort of consistent through the whole of the first side. So, for example, the third track, which I really like, I do a sample of that. It's called Fugitive, and it happens on there as well. And then as they move into the other and onto the other sides, they've got various guest vocalists going on, and the music mixes. So there are plenty of dance tracks on here, but it's not all for the dance floor. So there are sort of some fairly ambient and introspective moments, and there's some real epic. I mean, Book of Hours takes up the whole of the third side of this record, and it's over 20 minutes. I think it's 24 minutes, so this is crammed on. They must have tightened the grooves for that one, and it's really epic, and it's really the best way of describing it is Sister Bliss exploring her sort of orchestral and ambient learnings. But it's never dull. It's essentially instrumental going on for there's some voice here and there, but it's essentially an instrumental, and it's brilliant. This is a remarkable album in every which way, and it's got vocals, nice pictures, and huge sound system, which I presume is where the Champion sounds come from. It's not necessarily my favourite album of the month, but it's certainly one I'm absolutely loving. But I would say this is the most interesting of all the albums I've got this month, and it's 13 tracks, because some quite long. There's a few shorter ones on hot pink vinyl. I would guess Sister Bliss must have chosen that one, and so we. Okay, and coming in at number 9 is and this is what I decided is my rock album of the year, and is Yungblud. Yungblud spelled Yungblud, and his album Idols. Really enjoyable album. It was a surprise, I have to say, and I covered this in August, and this is what I said about it then. And this is one of the albums I sort of discovered somewhat belatedly. It was originally released in June, and it's by the artist Yungblud, and Idols, the album title is. Now, Yungblud is the stage name of Dominic Richard Harrison, who hails from Doncaster in South Yorkshire. To be honest with you, whilst I'd heard the name Yungblud, I didn't really know anything about it, but I was intrigued by his appearance on, with all the old rockers at that sort of final Black Sabbath gig and Ozzy's farewell concert, shall we say, a month or two back, just before Ozzy passed. And he even did a duet with Ozzy. So I thought, that they're treating him with respect as one of them. So I thought, that's not what I thought Yungblud was. So I went and had a look, streamed a couple, and thought, I like that. So I bought the album. I might say my daughter actually really likes him as well. So Harrison's described this himself as a celebration of self-belief and transformation, and this is his 4th studio album. But from what I've read, and I haven't listened to any of his earlier ones, this is a big step up. It's much more mature, if you like. It blends sort of classic rock, but also Britpop. You can hear the Britpop, and even a bit of glam, and there's orchestral flourishes going through it as well. I read here, this like amused me a bit, but I sort of get it. It said, I read that it was described as Queen's theatricality meeting U2's stadium ambition with nods to Blur and even Elton John, and that sort of sums it up. To me, it's got a really 90s feel. So maybe, Britpop, but not as it was. check my notes. So it opens with it's only a single LP, but it opens with a 9-minute, I'll call it an epic, Hello Heaven Hello. And this to me is a real stadium anthem. It's got sweeping guitars and swirling orchestration. It builds, from a sort of dreamy intro right up to a thunderous climax. Ghosts is another, it's a 6-minute standout, singing about mortality, and there's another one with sweeping instrumentation and a really cathartic scream at the end. And my favourite track on there, and I'll do a sample of this one, is The Greatest Parade, which is one of those sort of like a melancholic rocker. And it's got quite poetic, it's got driving rhythms, it's really good. And altogether, I think this is a really good album. It sounds fresh to me, despite being sort of quite old, 90s old school. And it's another one, it's a single LP, 12 tracks. And it's the fourth one, which is on a strange black one. I mean, they'll be doing black football boots soon, won't they?
I won't let you down, my love. You said we are the rain and the wind to the stars and the sun. We're in the greatest parade, the greatest parade, the greatest parade.
And coming in at number 8, and this is my best dance. So it's electronica, but it's specifically dance music, and it is by the Scottish artist Barry Can't Swim, and his this album is called Loner, single LP. It was a Fuzz Club album of the month, so it wasn't one I would have bought, but it's my number 8. It's a brilliant album. It's best dance music I've heard in years, and this is what I had to say about it back in July when I bought it. And this is another contender for high. We're the 5, certainly top 10 of the year so far, and not really an album I necessarily would have gone out and bought. And it is the album Loner, and it's by the artist Barry Can't Swim. Now, Barry Can't Swim is the stage name for one Joshua Spence Maney, who is from Edinburgh. And there's some spoken word on this here and there by Josh. And he has a slightly impenetrable, I was going to say Glasgow accent, Edinburgh accent, very, very strong Scottish accent. This is electronica, it's dance. So he's a sort of DJ and producer. I've got to say, and the reason I've got it is the Rough Trade album of the month. So, they just come along every now and then. This is his second album. I didn't hear the first. I'm going to have to go back and check it out. It was shortlisted for the Mercury's a couple of years ago, apparently. So this is a cracker. This is the best electronica come dance album I've heard in years. I haven't heard that many recently, to be honest. It's house music, but it's much more than that. It's got, the tracks are very varied. So you've got sort of variously cinematic and orchestral. You've got some classic acid house in there. You've got some jazzy and sort of soulful ones, and warm and uplifting, even bonobo-like, I would say. There's some, as I say, there's some spoken word from Josh, but only here and there. And there's also some singing from presumably guest vocalists. The penultimate track, which is called Marriage, and I'll put a bit of a sample on that, has been described as garage beats meet dramatic strings, vintage Moby meets Orbital, and it is. You think, oh, that's a bit of Moby in there. It's brilliant. I really, really like this album. It's one of those ones which you can't help. Your feet are tapping, your head's nodding all the way through. As usual with Rough Trade, there's a bonus disc. In this case, it's a 7-inch with a couple of bonus tracks on there, which add to the album. They're not demos. And it is very resplendent in what they have described as, I'm going to read this. Cream stroke translucent green twister. Whatever that is, it's a spirally splodgy affair. And a fabulous album. And number 7, and this is sort of unusual for me to be this high up because it's folk, and this is my best folk album of the year. Not that I've got very many, and the album is by an artist called Ghedi, and this is his album Wasteland, and it's magnificent. I listened to this again last night. It is a brilliant album, really is, and this is what I had to say about it back in March when I got it. I'm not much of a folkie, to be honest. I don't really buy much folk and I don't listen to it. But every now and then something comes along which really wows me and really grabs me. Now, the last one was in 2023, towards the end of the year. I discovered, which had been out for a little while at that point, I discovered the album by Larkham, called False Larkham, the Dublin band. And it was just wow. I mean, there was some conventional folk in there, but it was like really heavy, cutting edge, brooding. And there's another one for come out, which I say is similar. It's not similar to that album, but it's similar in impact. And it's an album called Wasteland by Ghedi. And as I say, I've never heard of him because I'm not really a folkie. But I read a couple of reviews about it, just happened across them and thought, that sounds interesting. Streamed, 2 or 3 tracks and was left wowed. So I bought the album and I've really listened to this a lot. And every time it just gets me. So this is straight into my top 3. It could be number 2. You know how things go, because we got Mogwai from January is superb as well, and it's more listening. So those 3... really. So this is a surprise because there's some great other albums, but it is magnificent. This is sort of relentlessly dark and brooding. It's got that, it's quite heavy. There's plenty of drums in there. It's not, I'd say heavy in relative terms. It's not easy listening folk. It's difficult to describe it. It's one of those ones you've really got to listen to, but listen to it 2 or 3 times. His vocal style doesn't make the lyrics really stand out. I wouldn't say he's mumbling, but it's just a slightly indistinct vocal style. He's English. He comes from Sheffield in Yorkshire, but the album is very nicely presented. It's got all the lyrics, which are quite extensive on the inside there to read, and they're mostly written by him. There's a couple of sort of like traditional English folk songs which he's adapted and so on, and he's also got some of the people. He's even got the singer from False Larkham doing some backing vocals on there. It came with a hype sticker. It's one of those where I ought to say before I read that, there's 10 tracks on there. It's a classic 10 tracks, 5 on each side, single little pin. It says, Wasteland, Ghedi, intense, brooding, at times apocalyptic, and remarkably vast. And that really sums it up in one sentence. A profoundly bold sonic statement that is some of the most rich, far-reaching and ambitious work that Ghedi has created today, pushing the boundaries of what folk music can be in 2025, just as Larkham did in 2023. And it features members of Landless, who I don't know, and Cinderwell, equally don't know. A 9 out of 10 by Onkar, Yorkshire's folksmith, ruminative, storm-tossed masterwork. And that sums it up. It is utterly superb. It's just on plain black suitably, and definitely one I recommend if you want to be challenged.
I'm
And finally for this video is number 6. Another well, it probably shouldn't have been a surprise, but it is, and it's a collaboration between Mark Pritchard, who is a electronic producer and artist, and Thom Yorke of Radiohead and The Smile, etc. And this was a grower, you know. So first listen, I wasn't 100% sure, but it's grown on me as the year has progressed, and this is my best electronica album of the year, and this is what I said about it in May when I bought it. And this is a collaboration between Mark Pritchard, who is a electronic producer and DJ, and Thom Yorke of Radiohead and The Smile, of course. And so it's sort of like not content with producing 3 Smile albums in the space of a couple of years. You know, he's now doing an extra collaboration. Though to be fair, I think Thom and Mark Pritchard go back quite a long way, and I think Mark Pritchard has done quite a bit of remixing of Radiohead stuff, and I think they've been working on this album on and off in the background for a few years, and finally got it to the point of release. And it's a full double. It's taken me a little while to really warm to it, and it was a bit sort of strange. I mean, I didn't dislike it to start with, but neither did I really love it. And it was a bit sort of slightly weird hearing Thom's vocal style against a pure electronic background. But over a few listens, each listen, it grows on me. There's more comes through. And I'm absolutely loving it now. You know, the album sort of starts off, you know, there's got some quite long tracks on there. The opener, let me see, what's it called? It's 8 minutes, the opener. It's called A Fake in a Faker's World. And it's sort of slightly discordant. It's not an easy listen. Hence I say it takes a bit of getting into. And then it follows Ice Shelves, which is quite cold and distant, and that sort of goes through the first, almost the first half before it gets to a track called The Spirit, which is much brighter and more upbeat, and tends to set the theme for the rest of the album, though upbeat and warm are relative to the very cold and distant opening. It sounds that I'm not liking it, but as I say, it's grown on me, and I'm really loving this album now. There's even a track on there called Happy Days, which again doesn't sound that happy, but it's there. Let me look at it. It's a gatefold sleeve. There's lyrics in the on the inner sleeves. It's a double, just on plain black. And as I say, it's a full double. Altogether, it's an excellent album. It's not up there. It's not quite up there with the brilliance of The Smile recently, but it's not far off. Having listened to it 6 or 7 times now, it's an album I'm really enjoying every time. So. Okay, so next time we will be doing my top 5 plus probably 1 or 2 mentions like I had today, I think with everything going on, I think it's time to resurrect the little non-verbal comment I made back in March, I think it was. So.